AFC East, there is a lot to chop into. 4 good defenses, 3 good offenses, and a lot of intrigue. I think that this is one of those ones where there's a lot to break down. There's a lot to get into. There's a lot of layers here. There's a lot of ifs. There's a lot of coulda, shoulda, wouldas. There's a lot of schematic things to dissect and go over. Been doing a lot of research. Been doing a lot of, perusing pods and all of that. And it's just a lot to get into with this division. It's going to be a highly competitive division. And this division has a very hard schedule, by the way. Very hard schedule. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top. Because I think it's clearly going to be one of those things where a war of attrition. I don't think there's going to be a team that runs away and hides and runs up, 13, 14 victories. I don't think it's going to be anything like that. But we shall see. Very, very competitive division, the AFC East. Thank you for those pulling up. You can hit that like button. The brother would appreciate it. The algorithm likes it. Therefore, I like it. Oh, man. And I think we'll start off with the strength of schedule first. So let's go ahead and tap in, break down the bed. Musical production provided by May 1st Music. Support him at soundcloud.com/May 1st Music. So as we always do, we start off with the strength of schedule. Okay? See, very recently updated, okay? And it's based off the Vegas odds. This is not what you will find on NFL.com or anything that's NFL Shield related. This is purely based off the Vegas forecasted win totals. This is what this strength of schedule is based off of. Okay, so where are we going? We're going with the AFC East. Well, as you see down here, bottom right, green means easy, red means hard. And down here at the bottom, unfortunately, you see with the 32nd easiest schedule in the league, which if we flip that means the most difficult schedule in the league, according to Vegas, the New England Patriots. Okay? Man, that's with that offense in flux, in transition. Defense is very sneakily good, but with that offense, Mac Jones, another year, another new OC. Bill O'Brien, though, you have more faith in him than the whole Matt Patricia experiment that failed last year. We'll get there, but the hardest schedule in the league, the New England Patriots. Let's keep going. Oh, wouldn't you know it? With the 30th easiest schedule, or flip it and reverse it, with the 3rd hardest schedule in the league is the Miami Dolphins. And wouldn't you know it, with the 4th hardest schedule in the league, it is the Buffalo Bills. And then we keep on going here. With the 6th hardest schedule in the league, so that's 6th or 7th. Let's see, they're 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. With the 8th hardest schedule in the league, the New York Football Jets. Yikes. Okay, so like I said, it's going to be a very competitive division. I think just from the standpoint of these teams are low-key evenly matched. Even the Patriots to a lesser degree, I think these teams aren't that different. Now you compound that with a strength of schedule where they're all top 10 in regards to strength of schedule, hardest strength of schedule. There's a lot to be made here in regards to this division. So before I get into my hardcore analysis of this division, I want to hear from y'all. Been kind of rewatching some of these streams to see how the flow goes. I like it better when y'all are involved in the chat. Y'all make this an interactive experience. So off top, I want to know from y'all, who do y'all think takes this division? Let me know in the chat. Thank you for those pulling up. But let me know in the chat, who do you have coming out the AFC East? Who's going to be the division winner? If anyone gets a wild card, let me know that as well. I'll hit the chat early. Derpy's in the house. Was good, Derpy? I'm not a fan. I'm not high on any of these teams. Is there any reason why? Let me know. I mean, I'm not a fan of any of these teams. I'm not a fan of any team. Hard stop, any sport. I've gotten off that what Bomani calls it, the narcotic. But that's where I get the whole fandoms of mental illness. I don't support any teams, but why are you not a fan of any of these teams? Who's your squad, Derpy? I don't think I know your squad if you have one. Scrub Zero in the house was good. Always appreciate you pulling up. Whack Jones, okay. So we're getting at Mac Jones early and often. I think there's a scenario where Whack Jones isn't so whack. I think there's a scenario. I think there's a way where he can, get rid of that nickname baptized upon him by Scrub Zero, but we'll get there. Let's see. Derpy, that's because they all play each other. No, it's actually way more than that. It's actually way more than just the divisional schedule, because we could have made that case with the NFC East last year. They all had the hardest schedule. They all had the easiest schedule in the league, but that division was super competitive. So it's not just based off, the divisional opponents. But we'll get there. I have the schedules loaded up for all 4 teams. We'll break that down. Corey's in the house was good. He's got the Jets. Okay, so he's rocking with the Jets to take this division. Okay, as y'all see here on the topic bar, sometimes I kind of give you where my brain is at in terms of how I think the order of finish will go. With this one, however, I think it's more about storylines and how I place this. So I do have the Jets as the first team, but I think it's more so in regards to there's just so many storylines to get into with the Jets. I wanted to talk about them first, then the Bills. And we will get into the whole thing of what, your man Stephen A. Smith said today, allegedly reporting the quiet stuff out loud that Stephon Diggs allegedly, but not really, doesn't really want to be in Buffalo anymore. That's kind of something I've been hinting and insinuating for about a year or so, but now Mans comes out there and says it on his platform. It goes viral, and away we go. Let's see. Derpy's got the Bills. He thinks it's the Bills still. Okay, there's a lot of reasons why you would think it's the Bills. There's some questions on the O-line. We'll definitely touch on that. But I think the Bills, if the defense can not be beset by injuries like they were last year, I think that's a really underrated group. I think the Bills will definitely be in the mix. Me and Corey apparently sharing the brain. Bills O-line will hold them back. I'm not a fan of the tackles. I think they've made some improvements at guard on the interior of the line. I think the issues will be the tackle spots for them, but we'll touch on that once we get there. Let's see. Corey again, also not high on the Jets O-line. My issue with the Jets O-line, it's more so depth than ability. I think the starters are fine. I think they're a really good run blocking squad as opposed to a pass blocking bunch. But my question for them would be the depth there. So that's what I think of the Jets O-line. Derpy, Brady dominated that division for so long. I don't know if any of those teams know how to win. Well, that's kind of strong. I mean, if we're looking at, the Dolphins they were on the cusp of being a team that can really do damage, right? And then the whole thing with Tua, Armstead on the line, they faced a lot of injuries. So I wouldn't say that. I don't think that relates to the Dolphins. And also because of the Bills, getting so close to potentially making the Super Bowl over the last couple of years, I wouldn't put them in that class either. If you're telling me the Jets don't know how to win, I think that's valid because they've been the QB away my entire life. Patriots, I don't think they have a chance to win this division, although there's been some people, biased people yet, but still, there's some people in and around the Patriots that think this roster can win double-digit games. Now, I'm not about to jump out the window and tell y'all that, but I think a lot of people are putting the dirt on the grave of the Patriots a little bit prematurely. I think their squad, low-key, will keep them, the defense especially. The offense is a huge-ass question mark. But I think the defense will carry the New England Patriots. Let's see. Scrub Zero. Bills, Finns get a wild card. I think the Patriots will come up short with Mac Jones, and I don't trust the Jets escaping being the Jets. I mean, that's certainly a stigma. And I ain't going to hold you. I haven't been that impressed with Hard Knocks so far. I have not been impressed. The first episode was cool, but that second episode was really mid. And I just don't think the Jets have a lot of personalities. Like with the way that Sauce was doing shit on social media leading up to getting Aaron Rodgers, you would have thought he would be the guy that would kind of take over on this Hard Knocks, but it's been more Quinnen Williams, which is fine. But I just don't, the storylines aren't there yet for the Jets and Hard Knocks. Maybe as we get closer to cut down day, something will develop. But I'm telling you, in-season Hard Knocks, greater than sign preseason Hard Knocks. It's just, I don't care about the preseason. Like, I just don't care about any of it unless it's a huge injury or some, really strong position battle type stuff. I really don't care about preseason. And the teams are showing it as much either, where a lot of these stars aren't even playing. So it's more like, in-season Hard Knocks, when the games count and there's teams pushing for a playoff berth, or like last year when the Cardinals were self-imploding from, the GM to the assistant, the O-line coach, to everyone else involved, to the Kyler Murray stuff, like that was scintillating. So the Jets, the storylines, they really do have to be able to get around the stigma of just being the same old Jets. Scrub Zero. Friday Smith talking again. Yeah, he's got the tea. And to be quite honest, it's tea that has kind of been out there, even if you just pay attention, even to the playoff game last year, when, Diggs clearly had an issue with Josh Allen. And there's definitely more to it. There was an issue when Stephon Diggs pulled up to camp. And he was at camp, but he wasn't participating in camp. This stuff has been hiding in plain sight for a very long time. So Friday just put his name out there. He claimed he got sources, but it is what it is. Scrub Zero, wouldn't be surprised if any team won this division, but I would pick the Bills and the Dolphins. Okay. Derpy Tua will get hurt again because the O-line, Rodgers chokes when it matters after that fluke of a Super Bowl in 45. Okay. Strong take. We tearing down the throne of Aaron Rodgers. Okay. Mac Jones is not Brady, and the Bills were in the Patriots' shadow so long, but history speak for their organization of winning in the playoffs. Okay. Script Zero, I don't see any team winning less than 7 games. Winning less. Okay. All right. Even with the difficult schedules. Okay, that's interesting. All right, so let's tap in. I appreciate y'all for giving me the feedback. I like that to start it off, just so we have a baseline of where everybody is at in the chat, and then we can go ahead and provide the information. So, starting with the Jets, okay? Now, this is just predicting the New York Jets depth chart. Obviously, the key here is Aaron Rodgers. The New York Jets have been a QB away my entire life. They finally went out there and they were able to go get the QB to go along with the plethora of running backs, to go along with Garrett Wilson, to go along with the defense that is probably top 5 in the league, okay? Pair all of that together, and with a division that on paper seems winnable, the New York Jets have a real chance. The New York Jets have a chance to get rid of the stigma that has existed my entire life. Aaron Rodgers, without even playing an official snap, automatically becomes the greatest quarterback in Jet history. Now, with the lofty expectations placed upon this team, on this coach, on Joe Douglas, on Woody Johnson, all of them involved, can they get it done? This division, in my opinion, is theirs to lose. But can they do it? Can they find a way to fight through a very difficult schedule, to fight through a very strong Buffalo Bill team, a very pesky Miami Dolphins team, and a Patriots team that has the ability to at least split in the divisional games? That's a lot to ask for a team that, according to Vegas, let's go ahead to the over-unders, because I like to jump into that a little bit sooner, 9.5 wins. 9.5 wins for the New York Jets. As you see here, the over is the favorite. There is some juice on the under if you want to jump out that window, but 9.5 is the line set for the New York Jets. Over or under? Let me know that in the chat. live. If you're watching on the replay, let me know in the comments. But when it comes to this roster, clearly the key here is A-Rod, Aaron Rodgers. But we have to look at the fact that Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Michael Carter. That's the core that has enticed someone like Aaron Rodgers to want to get out of Green Bay and pull up. This is the core that made him look at that roster and say, you know what? They might just be a QB away. It's not just a saying. It's an actuality when it comes to these Jets. And I love how we're getting the love for Zach Wilson now. Aaron Rodgers comes in, he coaches him up as his backup, and all of a sudden people like how Zach Wilson looks. It really just took a better QB to come in there and teach him the ropes, not a damn Joe Flacco like they've had in the years past, an actual good top-tier QB to kind of be around him, and whether it's through direct coaching or whether it's through just osmosis of watching Aaron Rodgers, Zach Wilson has shown ability that maybe he's not mid. Maybe he's not more known for smashing his mom's friend than being an actual competent NFL QB. Maybe. But this is where we're at now, where this roster has a lot of talent. Now, Corey spoke about it in the chat, and I briefly touched on it a little bit. This O-line could be something to figure out. This O-line could be an issue. I'm not saying this line is bad. I'm just saying when you bring in someone like Aaron Rodgers, you need to have an O-line in place, because as much as he used to hit us with the discount double check and all that State Farm shit, and he used to scramble and make plays, you can't really keep expecting him to play at that level, especially in this 1 to 2 year window that they clearly have with A-Rod. This O-line is going to have to be on point. Mekhi Becton is someone that has kind of floated between good to bust. Consistency, in my opinion, has been his issue. Bringing in Dwayne Brown, I think, is pretty good. Tippmann is solid as a center. Vera Tucker, I think, is a guy that could take a step. So I think this is an offensive line that can be better. The question is, will they be better? Also, I ain't going to hold you, tight end could be an issue here. Now, these are names. We know the name Tyler Conklin. We know the name CJ Uzomah. But in terms of production, are we going to get that from what we see from the Jets tight ends? Now, again, all that could be saved just because they have Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers could make CJ Uzomah look like how the Bengals thought he was going to be all them years ago. Okay, so Aaron Rodgers can make these guys look better than what they are. Garrett Wilson is special. Him and Rodgers should have that Devontae Adams thing by now. So I don't think there's an issue there. Lazard, McCall Hardman, I mean, I'm not saying those guys are mid. I'm just saying I'm not expecting anything crazy out of those guys. I think we'll get something, especially with McCall Hardman, where he's kind of a one-trick pony, in my opinion. Allen Lazard is a competent number 2. But if either one of these guys slip, that's why he's got his man Randall Cobb right there. You know, Denzel Mims, I don't know if he even makes this roster, to be quite honest with you. But Randall Cobb is still, he's the reason why, this is the reason why he's here. If Lazard, or more likely McCall Hardman, doesn't live up to par, then Randall Cobb will step up and be that third receiver. I don't know how much 11 personnel you can do with this bunch, but you can definitely play with it. Like if Lazard and McCall Hardman play up to their level, you can definitely do some 11 personnel here. But this roster with this makeup screams 21 personnel to me, more so than 11. But as we go through, the running game should not be poo-pooed here. Just because you have Aaron Rodgers doesn't mean he should be dropping back 40 times a game. Even though the biggest bugaboo in your entire franchise has been the quarterback position, that does not mean because you have one now that you should be throwing 30 to 40 times a game. I think the quality that you're going to get is more so than the quantity of the plays you want to run. I don't think Aaron Rodgers should be dropping back 30 to 40 times in this offense. If they had more weapons, specifically at receiver and tight end, then maybe. But because you have Breece Hall, who was looking amazing before he got hurt last year. Breece Hall was looking dynamic, and he fit this system to a T. And even with what Nathaniel Hackett wants to do, I think he still fits in well. He was looking top tier special. He wasn't looking like just, oh, well, you just found a running back and he's just going to go get some yards. Like people keep trying to poo-poo when it comes to, the running back position. No. Breece Hall was looking special before he got hurt. And then Michael Carter came in and, he was able to do some of the same things, but Breece Hall's the one. They should still have a really balanced offense if you're the New York Jets here. Just because you get Aaron Rodgers, you could get tantalized into the whole thing of, well, let's just let Aaron drop back and figure it out. I'm not saying he's too old to do it. I'm saying at this point in his career, you should not be depending on him like that. He didn't come to this team that has a complete defense, that has a potentially sleeper giant offense, so he could come here and just air it out 40 times a game. Now, if he likes his matchup, he's going to go ahead and audible to a pass play. You allow him to do that. But in terms of play calling perspectives, I don't think you bring Aaron Rodgers in to have him air out the rock 30 to 40 times every single week. When you got Breece Hall back, when you got Michael Carter back, and you have an O-line that I think is better at run blocking than pass blocking, that's not what you do, in my opinion. I think you balance that thing out. You let Breece Hall, you see where he's at in terms of the rehab. We're all under the assumption that he could be back to what he was. And if not, you got Michael Carter there as well. So I think this Jets offense should be one of the better offenses in the league because they do have a QB. They got the running backs back. They have a dominant number one wide receiver in Garrett Wilson. And you have a offensive line that likes to punish people in the running game when used correctly. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with Bakhtiari. Bakhtiari might still pull up. We don't know what's going to happen. Bakhtiari might be on a PJ right now. But in terms of what we have on paper with the New York Jets, I think the O-line, you could do some tinkering here if you could make some improvements. Is Bakhtiari really that big of an improvement? I'll let y'all tell me. I think it's kind of a wash at this point. But, in terms of familiarity with Rodgers and whatnot, that certainly would make Aaron feel comfortable. But Jets offense, I don't have no issues. This defense, though. This defense. If you like defense, if you like line play, this is the squad you want to tap in on. And I think they don't do a lot in terms of pressure, like in terms of blitzing. They get home with 4. And as someone that has, I've had family that played football at various levels, nothing warms my heart than seeing a D-line get home with 4. It's special to watch. There's something about taking over and applying pressure, penetrating the pocket, making the QB run for his life without having to crash. It's just a really special thing to see. And when you have Quinnen Williams here, who's the dude on this defense? Look, Sauce Gardner is that dude when it comes to the back 4. DJ Reed is a close second when it comes to that back 4. But overall in this defense, to me, it begins and ends with Quinnen Williams. Because we've seen shutdown corners before be impactful, but there's something about being a shutdown corner when you got someone flushing the QB out the pocket. It's a symbiotic relationship. It's a symbiotic relationship. What you see here. Now, Solomon Thomas, he's more of a journeyman at this point, flamed out with the 49ers, but I think Williams, Jefferson, Lawson, I think, could take a step. Franklin Myers is solid off the edge. But I think, when you talk about C.J. Mosley, I think this is where, if you really want to dissect this Jet defense and try to nitpick where the weaknesses are, I think it's only the linebacking crew. And it's only a linebacking crew from one perspective. It's from the coverage perspective. They're very good against the run. These are all LBs who can chase you sideline to sideline and get after it. But when it comes to coverage, That's the only weakness. If you go back and you watch some of the Jets tape from last year, the few times they were sliced and diced, it clearly was not deep, right? With Sauce and Reed. Clearly was not that. However, coverage from the linebackers and coverage from the safeties, that was the only Achilles heel. You could not run on this Jets defense. You could not pass deep on this Jets defense. But when it came down to coverage from the linebackers and the safeties, that was the part where you could exploit. So, have they made any real improvements in that nitpicking particular area? From what I've seen, from what I've read, from what I've listened, no. But again, when you have guys who can get home with 4, and then you have DBs that are shut down corners who don't need any bracket coverage or any safety help, you can live with, all right, CJ Mosley, Quincy Williams, they may not be the best in coverage, but because they're so good against the run, we'll live with that trade-off. And I see a comment here about, let's see. Did I see that? All right, I'll get to the comments in the section in a second. Trust me, I see the comments coming in. I will definitely recap some of the stuff y'all are saying, and we could chop it up. What I'm seeing here is that we're looking at a potential top 5 defense, if not higher, okay? Quentin Williams, to me, is that special. He's of that tier. And I think when you have a dude at every level, that's what makes your defense special. When you have a Quentin Williams on the front line, then you have a CJ Mosley with the linebackers, and then you have not 1, but 2 corners. For sure, Sauce is a lockdown corner. Some people are saying DJ Reed is a shutdown corner. Certainly for his size, he's a shutdown corner. No one that's like what? He's like what, 5'9"? No one that small should be a lockdown corner, but he certainly looks the part, okay? I think when you're tapping into that, I think this Jets defense has some really strong potential to be a really top tier unit. And not just, I think statistically they were top 5 in damn near everything last year. I'm saying in terms of one of those defenses that we actually remember, okay? Like if this Jets team is going to make a run, this defense has the type of potential to be one of those defenses that we remember in the annals of Ravens, 49ers, Bears, all of that. Like they could be Giants way back in the day in the 80s. Like they could fit in that lineage because they have the pieces at every level. So I think the Jets, this is their division to lose. A lot has been made of their shortcomings in terms of the offense gelling, in terms of Aaron Rodgers and just him and all that comes with him, how much he has left. Allegedly, he was on the verge of retirement, yada, yada, yada. How much is he reinvigorated? Is he reinvested into, prolonging his career? All of that stuff doesn't matter to me when it comes right down to he's got a squad that is stacked on both sides of the ball. While he had some decent defenses in Green Bay, in my opinion, he's never had a defense like this. And when you give him a number 1 wide receiver in Garrett Wilson, when you give him not 1 but 2 running backs who are potentially top tier, more so Breece Hall than Michael Carter, and then he's got his guys in Randall Cobb and maybe even Bakhtiari on the way in, I think this is a Jet squad, despite the schedule, despite having the top 10, most difficult schedule, I think the Jets can get it done. So 9.5 wins when it comes to the, where is it at here? 9.5 wins. Boom, 9.5 wins. I'm going over. And you see that's the favorite as of right now. 9.5 wins. I'm going over. If we want to touch on the Jets schedule, here we go. Well, before we do that, I'll catch up with the chat. I appreciate those who are pulling up. I would appreciate it if you would hit the like button. The algorithm likes it, therefore I like it as well. Okay. Derpy, something will go wrong with the Jets. It will happen. Okay, he's being pessimistic. Scrub Zero, if the Jets miss the playoffs, does Salah get the boot at season's end? Not this year. I think the Aaron Rodgers window is 2 years. If 2 years they don't make significant runs into the playoffs, Certainly, you can miss the playoffs this year. You could blame it on new team, new everything. Cool. But when you run it back next year, I think that's the do or die year. I don't think this year is the do or die year for Sally yet. Okay, Scrub Zero's got the under for the Jets. Under 9.5 for Scrub Zero. Man, ain't no one worried about no damn Zach Wilson over here. Okay, all right. Hey, look, I'm just telling you what them folks are saying, what them blue check boys and girls are saying. Everyone now is turning the tide on Zach Wilson because he's standing next to Aaron Rodgers now. That was uncalled for. I don't know what that was. I don't know what was uncalled for. Derpy, the coaching for the Jets. I mean, look, I think Nathaniel Hackett learned his lesson from the whole Denver fiasco. I think he's learned his lesson. He might be another one of those guys that might just be better as a coordinator than an HC. So we'll see. There's a man that's slightly above mid, mostly because of health. Hardman is mid. Yeah, I mean, I think Lizard, I don't know if I want to give him above mid. I mean, certainly when he's catching balls from Aaron Rodgers, Paul. So I guess if, as long as he keeps, following Aaron Rodgers, I guess so. Derpy, I expect Brett Favre experiment all over again. Hey, I mean, well, didn't that thing get off to a good start? He got to a good start before he crashed and burned. Scrub Zero, Rodgers should have been at 30 attempts, max 3 to 4 years ago, in my opinion, because if the Jets make the playoffs, we know the formula Rodgers throwing 40 plus times is going to get it done. Yeah, I think that there's definitely something to it. I think the issue in Green Bay is they just kept relying on him. Scrub Zero, Jets have the crew defensively. Yeah, the defense is top tier, yo. Defense is top tier. Sports with Flow, Jermaine Johnson could break out in gear too. What's good to Sports with Flow? Salute. I think that could be something. He's certainly someone we need to keep an eye on. Opportunities, though. Will the snaps come? Scrub Zero, Jets haven't had issues with finding guys for the defensive line in forever. There is something to that. Let's see. Scrub Zero, Jets have everything needed to win this division, make a run for a championship, but with all of that, I'm still taking the under. That's interesting. You're saying they have everything to make a run for a chip, but you're still taking the under. All right. Eddie H, what's good, Eddie H? If 2-0 stays healthy, the Dolphins win the division. Okay, so we got a Dolphins fan in the chat. I appreciate it. Stay locked in. You see where they're at. They're coming up here very shortly. Okay. So we have the Jets regular season schedule. So we have the Bills opening night, Monday night, home game. Y'all see it here. Cowboys. So again, this is a hard schedule. Okay, like this is no bullshit. We're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I said 8th earlier. It's the 7th hardest schedule in the league. Okay. Bills, Cowboys, Patriots, Chiefs. That's not easy. Broncos. Now we think that should be a win, but that's Nathaniel Hackett going back to Denver, could be facing some of the demons that was left there. Sean Payton talking that shit. Aaron Rodgers is going to be trying to light that squad up that day to protect this man's Nathaniel Hackett. That could be a game to look out for. Eagles. So again, first 6 weeks, the only game you could potentially say should be winnable is the Broncos game, and that's on the road in Mile High, which is never an easy thing to do. I've covered games at Mile High. That altitude, it didn't affect me, but some of the people I was working with, it affected them. That shit hits different, bruh. It hits different. So the first 6 weeks heading into their bye week, I don't see a very easy schedule here. Bills Monday night on the road for Dallas in a definitely CBS game of the week type thing at 4:30. Then you have the Patriots at home. Chiefs on Sunday night. Home game at least it's not an hour ahead. Then you got to go on the road to Denver, come back, and then you got the Eagles coming to the crib. And then after the bye week, little crosstown rival, you got the Giants. Then you got the Chargers on Monday night. Then you got the Raiders. So far in terms of winnable games on paper that you could just automatically mark as a W, we're looking at the Broncos. Y'all want to give them a dub against the Giants? I would probably give them a dub against the Giants. I don't think this Chargers game is a gimme. They should beat the Raiders, but Sunday night game in Vegas, a lot of dudes like to peruse the strip before they play against the Raiders. Like that's a built-in, home field advantage for the Raiders. So I can't say that's a gimme. Bills again. They finally play the Dolphins on Black Friday. That's not an easy game. Falcons are going to be better. Texans, that should be a dub. Dolphins again. So they play the Dolphins twice within a 4-week span. Then you got the Commanders, Browns on Thursday night, and then the Patriots. Again, this is why that strength of schedule is what it is. This is why this is the 7th hardest schedule in the league. 5 made it easy dubs. You would assume they'd split with the Patriots, right? Browns, I don't think that's an easy dub. Commanders, depending how Sam Howell looks, they got the weapons everywhere else. They could give them some problems. Like there's maybe 4 games that you could earmark and just say, all right, those should be wins. After that, this is a very difficult schedule. Very, very difficult schedule for the Jets. So that's why you would think with the talent they have on both sides of the ball, that 10 wins would be simple, would be easy. But a lot of people, myself included, are still believing in taking the over here. At minus 125, that's not that bad in terms of putting the bread up to win 100. If you want some of the juice action, you could try to just depend on the schedule and take the under. But winning 9.5 games is a lot there. It's a lot there to navigate through. I'll hit the chat real quick before we move on to the Buffalo Bills. Scrub Zero, I want to be wrong about my prediction for the Jets, but they have to prove it to me that they can do it. Okay, that is respectable. I got the Jets 3-3 after 6 weeks. Wins versus the Cowboys, Patriots, and Broncos. Cowboys, Patriots, and Broncos. So you got them losing to the Bills opening night. Got them losing to the Chiefs on Sunday night. And then losing to the Eagles. So they're losing all the real marquee games. So you got them losing all the marquee games. That will be interesting. That'll be interesting. I would love to see the headlines if that happens. The New York media, if the only wins they could get off, not to say that the Cowboys are mid, but if the only wins they could get off is the Cowboys, the Patriots, and the Broncos, and they lose that game to Buffalo, they lose that game to the Chiefs, and they lose that game to the Eagles, there's going to be a lot of talk in the media about this Jets team is not serious. I will tell you that for a fact. There will be a lot of people calling this thing a failed experiment early if it's 3-3 after 6 games heading into the Week 7 bye week, and those 3 wins are against what you would call the lesser part of this schedule. And Eddie H., all AFC East teams have a rough schedule. This year, they play the NFC East and AFC West. I don't consider the AFC West that difficult. I mean, obviously, you have the Chiefs, you know what I'm saying? And the Chargers at least have an offense that can score, but you could definitely put up points on that defense. So I agree in theory, but I don't know if that's actually going to play out as much. All right, let's go to Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills. So again, we locked in with the strength of schedule. They have the 4th hardest schedule in the league. Okay? So we're tapping into that. Let's start with the offensive depth chart. We know who the QB is. On paper, James Cook is listed as the starting running back. I'm not that sold on that. I think they bring in Damian Harris. I think you bring in Damian Harris to be the guy. Okay? I would prefer Damian Harris to be the guy. But the thing is that he's hardly, if ever, actually healthy for 16 or now 17 weeks. Receiver is where things get dicey. McKenzie's gone. Khalil Shakur, I mean, I'm not going to go there, but y'all can if y'all want to. Gabe Davis hangs on to his second receiver spot by the hair of his chinny chin chin. And then we have the enigma that is Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs, who I believe made Josh Allen. Now, the quiet stuff is being said out loud via Stephen A. Smith, Fraud A. Smith, if you know. He is saying that Stephon Diggs wants out of Buffalo. But he's aware that he can't actually get out of Buffalo. And he's willing to stay there and play the season out and be a good soldier about it and so on and so forth. He's not going to loaf it. He's not going to James Harden fat suit it. He's going to play it out, right? The key here is this. How much better has Stephon Diggs made Josh Allen? You can look at the numbers and see the market difference between Josh Allen before Stephon Diggs and when they got Stephon Diggs. But now it's about, what, year 3, year 4 of the Stephon Diggs experiment. And they have yet to improve, I think, the core around them to really take this offense to the next level. They're still really heavily depending on what Josh Allen can do. And while Josh Allen, who is perpetually in MVP conversations every single year, whether it's warranted or not, they still depend heavily on his ability to make things happen. And while that was cute when he was younger, a guy of that size, as much as people like to go to Lamar and talk about the pounding pause that he would take and how long that can last, I think you need to start having those same types of conversations, even though Josh Allen is a much bigger guy in stature than Lamar Jackson. I think you need to start having those same types of conversations with Josh Allen. How much more can he take? He had the elbow issue. He's had other issues prior. How much more can Josh Allen take? Okay. To me, the biggest addition was Dalton Kincaid in the draft. Because Dawson Knox is a solid option, more of a block first tight end than a receiving tight end. But Dalton Kincaid, there's been rumors that they might do 11 personnel with Kincaid in the mix. 11 personnel with Dalton Kincaid in the mix. So that's Diggs, Gabe Davis, and Dalton Kincaid in the 11 personnel. Do we like that? Y'all let me know. Do we think Dalton Kincaid, who is more of a receiving tight end than a blocking tight end, do we feel as though Dalton Kincaid is that good? Certainly got the size, certainly has the ability if you watch the highlights, but in terms of execution at this level, can Dalton Kincaid be that type of, receiving tight end a la Kyle Pitts that can go in there in the slot and do work? That will be a thing to keep an eye on. And if you're doing fantasy, that's also something to kind of keep your eye on, okay? Dalton Kincaid and 11 personnel. Okay, so the offensive line. This is where things can go really bad for the Buffalo Bills. I'm not really a fan of this offensive line. I'm not going to sit here and dissect it too crazy, but if you look at all the metrics of offensive line play, especially on the right side of the line, it's not great. And I didn't see that market improvement via the draft or in the offseason to try to make this something better than what it was last year. This whole offense is still designed heavily around what Josh Allen can do. Damian Harris can be a factor if he's healthy. James Cook could then slide and become not necessarily a scat back, but more of a guy that's attacking the perimeter, whereas Damian Harris is more of your straightforward north and south type runner. And he has been productive when healthy. That's one thing you could say about Damian Harris. When he's healthy, he's up there. But with the Patriots, it was a matter of, are you getting enough carries? are you still the guy? Because Stevenson came in and kind of, deboed his spot from him. But Damian Harris, if you allow him the touches and feed him, which is not something we've seen with a running game in the Josh Allen era. If he has a running back that he can give, 18 to 22 carries a game to in Damian Harris, I think that takes a lot of pressure off Josh Allen. And if we really want to keep it real about Josh Allen, was there a market drop-off that we can pinpoint and dissect from last year? Not necessarily. However, there's one particular area where the elbow injury that he suffered definitely affected him. And it was the simple fact that they did not take vertical shots post-elbow injury like they did prior. Now, that's expected, right? However, look at this roster now. Where is your vertical threat on this roster? McKenzie kind of had some of that. He's gone now. You're telling me Shakir can step into that? Maybe Deontay Hardy? Sure. I'm not co-signing, but sure. Gabe Davis is more of an intermediate guy, in my opinion. But this is where the Kincaid thing can really step in here. If Kincaid is that dude, I'm not saying he's going to be taking people deep, but he could seam route you to death. He could intermediate you to death. And if you have Diggs who can still garner bracket coverage, he's still going to garner the other team's best DB. Like Sauce is following Stephon Diggs. Now you got, is DJ Reed going to have to deal with Dalton Kincaid at 5'9"? Or is he going to deal with Gabe Davis? And if he deals with Gabe Davis, now that opens up in a potential Bills-Jets matchup. Now this opens up Dalton Kincaid against the one Achilles heel the Jets defense possess, and that's coverage at the linebacker level and the safety level. Is that what we're going to get? That's kind of just playing that forward, okay? So that, to me, is the Buffalo's offense. Their defense, oh boy. There's a lot of names here, right? There's a lot of names here. When you're talking about Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, Von Miller, there's a lot of names here. Shaq Lawson, there's a lot of names here. Matt Milano, there's a lot of names here. Tre'Davious White, there's a lot of names here. Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Taylor Rapp. Taylor Rapp is a guy to watch. Salute for Damar Hamlin. I'm not going to get into that, but salute to him. He wants to play. He's playing. Taylor Rapp, though, he's someone to keep an eye on in this back four. Tre'Davious White is okay. They're okay at every level. I think the D-line is really precedent on what's Von Miller. How much does Von Miller have left? How much does Von Miller have left? They were using him as a quasi-situational pass rusher, closer, fourth quarter, just go crazy off the edge, preserve his snap count until the second half so he could let him go loose. Then he got hurt. And they've been very quiet about where he's at in his rehab. We're assuming he's going to be ready to go. We're assuming he's going to be full strength week 1. But that's a huge question mark to just assume at his advanced age, he's still going to be that game-breaking impact player, especially off the edge. Rousseau's got some burst to him. Interior-wise, Ed Oliver's solid. Daquan Jones is solid. I think this is a solid defensive unit, right? The thing about it is that the zone piece to me is where it gets a little shaky. The zone piece here to me is where it gets a little shaky. So if you want to break down the numbers of how much they played zone versus man, you can do that. But when they go zone, it's a little sus because they're depending on the front four to get home. And before Von Miller got hurt, they had a pretty good success rate of getting home. After Von Miller got hurt, that percentage decreased significantly. So, again, if everyone's healthy and everyone plays up to their ability, this is a top 10 defense. in name only, right? Just the names that we have here. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, like there's names here, right? If they play to their ability and don't have, if they're not beset by injuries like they have been, especially last season, this is a top 10 defensive unit. But if they're not healthy, Swiss cheese. If they're not healthy, Swiss cheese. And yes, you can say that about a lot of defenses, but as you see here, we're looking at the names that we all know. If you follow football, you know these names. Now look at the backups. Do you know these names? And how big is the drop off if these names aren't there, if these starting names aren't there? Now, Taylor Rapp is a guy to keep an eye on, but again, they play a lot of nickel. He's a guy that will be on the field a lot, I think, in certain packages. So X factor defensively is Taylor Rapp's impact, because I think he'll be used in a lot of dynamic ways as a weapon. So Bills defense should be good, has the names to be good, but do they have the health to be good? So now we go to where we got with the over-under for the Buffalo Bills. 10.5. So again, the Bills are the favorite by Vegas to win this division. 10.5 games for the Buffalo Bills. Over or under. Over is the favorite. And that's a pretty heavy number, in my opinion. Minus 140, I would not touch that at that number. 10.5, and that's asking a lot. Fourth hardest schedule in the league. 10.5 wins, over, under. Some really sneaky good juice here on the under, by the way. But we shall go to the Bills regular season, but I'll hit the chat first. Script Zero, I know the Bills have some issues with run blocking in their backs, but it's not enough trouble for them to run as few times as they have the past few years. Well, I think there's going to be a increase in them running. So I think it's going to be a thing for that line to be better at run blocking at the point of attack, because I think with Damian Harris in the fold there, I think they're going to run a lot more than they have in years past. I think to extend Josh Allen, much like the Ravens have had to extend, Lamar Jackson by actually giving him some help, I think the Bills are in a similar type case where to extend Josh Allen's prime, his peak, they need to balance this offense out. And I think with Damian Harris, it's thought that that's what they're going to do. Bills got a lot of names, but do they have a lot of game left? I think that's more so for the defense for sure. I think that's the thing to figure out. Scrub Zero, Bills don't have the depth to survive their division. Health could cause them to miss the playoffs. I mean, look, the Vegas got them at 10.5. I mean, I would not. Let's see if we can find 10. Well, they think they're going to win 11 games. So let's see if we can find 11 wins here. We have the Jets on Monday night. Raiders, Commanders, Dolphins, Jaguars in London, Giants, Patriots, Buccaneers. So the first 8 games, you can probably assume the Raiders. Early in the season, maybe you could catch the Commanders. Jags and Buffalo, that could be difficult. Patriots, you would like to think they could take care of business, but as we'll get to later, the Patriots are not going to be a pushover. And then you got the Bucs on Thursday night. So there's definitely more winnable games early for the Bills than for the Jets. Then you look at, they got the Bengals. There's a lot of primetime games. They go to London. They come back for a Sunday night. 2 weeks later, they got a Thursday night, then another Sunday night, then another Monday night. It's going to be a lot of Josh Allen on prime time, boy. God damn, this the anti-Kirk Cousins. They giving him all the prime time matchups. Then you got the Jets, Eagles, bye week. That's a hell of a time to get a bye week, man. That is a murderer's row. Like, you're getting travel included. I think the travel is the most important part. They don't get a bye week after going to London. That's kind of crazy. No bye week after going to London. They come back for a Sunday nighter. Then Patriots, then Bucks on Thursday night, then Bengals on Sunday night, Denver Monday night, then the Jets again, then at Philly, then they get a bye week. God damn. Then Chiefs, Dallas, Chargers, Patriots, and then Dolphins. Yeah. If you're telling me this 10.5 with this schedule, I don't see 10.5, dog. Like, Buffalo's going to be way better than what I think they are if they could get 11 wins out of this schedule. They get 11 wins out of this schedule, then I'm going to have to walk back a lot of stuff. Then Josh Allen is exactly who they keep saying he is. If they could get 11 wins out of this, you're telling me if they get 11.5 wins, you're telling me Von Miller goes into the hot tub time machine and turns back into Denver Von Miller. Like, a lot of things have to break right for 11 wins, dog. 11 wins with all the travel? I don't see it. Y'all let me know. Do y'all see 11 wins with this schedule we just laid down? 11 wins? No bye week after London? Yes, it's a shorter flight because they're coming from the East, because they're going back to the East Coast, but good Lord. I don't know, bruh. I don't see it. I don't see it. That's going to be tough to me. All right, we'll hit the chat. Derpy. My thing is, injuries will happen, and the organizations in this division will not overcome that adversity because of the coaching. So you're not a fan of Sean McDermott. Well, didn't they extend? They extended Sean McDermott and the GM, right? So, I mean, they certainly have a faith system in McDermott and what's the GM? Bean? Yeah. Scrub Zero, I wouldn't put money on it, and I think it's going to be a dogfight for their division. Yeah, there's no pushovers here, and this is going to be the most competitive division. Now, I'm going to be doing the NFC East on Thursday, and you can argue that division could be just as competitive, but I think this division, to me, is going to be the most competitive division. Scrub Zero, 11 wins. It's going to be rough, though, for the Bills. Okay, so he's got the over. I don't know if I see 11. I don't think I see 11 wins here. So I think I'm going to take the juice and go with the under for, the under of 10.5 wins for the Buffalo Bills. That schedule's brutal, though. Out of so far, the Jets schedule and the Bills schedule, the Bills have an easier start than the Jets, but the Jets get the bye week earlier, and then after the bye week, there's tough games, but I don't think it's all in a row. Like, when you get that bye week is super important, and the fact that the Bills get this bye week, week 13, after going to London and then having, 3 straight weeks of primetime games, including a Thursday nighter, that's asking a lot, man. That's asking a lot. In a 6-week stretch, they got in a 5-week stretch. In a 5-week stretch, they got 4 primetime games, including a Thursday nighter and a Sunday nighter, a Sunday nighter. Or is this Monday night? They got Monday here. This could be a typo. I think that's a typo. Because it says Monday Night Football. I think that's, ESPN. Yeah, that's Monday night. So they got a Thursday and a Monday nighter thrown in with a Sunday nighter, 2 Sunday nighters, and a trip to London. That's brutal, bro. It's a lot of frequent fly outs, but that's brutal. All right, so we'll hit the chat real quick before we move on to the Miami Dolphins. Scrub Zero, 11 wins is as high as I can go, and that's only because I got them winning the division. Okay, all right, respect that. All right, let's go ahead and slide from the Bills to the Dolphins. You know where we start? Strength of schedule. With the 3rd most difficult schedule in the league, it is the Miami Dolphins. Okay? common thread here, but it is what it is. Over under for the Miami Dolphins, 9.5. 9.5. And you see there's damn near, there's no real favorite. There's a lot of mixed opinion on the Miami Dolphins. This is a team with a lot of names. This is a team with a lot of coulda, shoulda, wouldas. This is a team with, on paper, they look the part. There's a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. Can they put it together? Tua Tagovailoa is out here learning jiu-jitsu. He's doing MMA moves to learn how to slide. The running game, we thought they might improve it with Dalvin Cook, but he shook the spot. So they're running it back with Mostert and Jeff Wilson. Speed guys. They can go to receivers and you got speed in Tyreek Hill and speed and size in Jalen Waddle. The tight end position, I know McDaniel was not that high on Gesicki. Smythe, though, I felt like that was a position they were going to try to really, really improve, whether via the draft or in the offseason. Smythe, to me, is not the answer. He certainly is a serviceable blocking tight end, but in terms of catching the rock, something that you would assume in this McDaniel offense, which is predicated off the 49er offense, they have a George Kittle. Not to say that you could find a George Kittle clone anywhere, but I would like to think you could do better than Smythe at the tight end position. But I think there's two positions where this Miami Dolphins team lives and dies. And I think it lives and dies with Tua Tagovailoa at the quarterback position. I think it got to go with Armstead on the line. And we saw that scare where I think it was last week where it looked like they had to help him walk off the field. It looked serious, but then he tweeted out the video of him walking, under his own power. The difference between Armstead starting and not starting is so stark, it's ridiculous. He is that important to the success of not only this offensive line, which is unheralded everywhere else, but just to the entire offense. Teron Armstead is arguably the most important player on this offense. Tua's right there because he's the quarterback, and we know how we have overemphasized the importance of the QB position, but Teron Armstead is just as important, if not more, than Tua Tagovailoa. This offense should not be the issue. The thing you're going to have to ask yourself is, how does this McDaniels offense evolve? What is the next level for this McDaniels offense? They pretty much stayed pat in terms of skill position players and guys that can attack. Okay? Is it really just a thing of if we have Tua and he's healthy, and we have Teron Armstead and he's healthy, we're going to look like the squad that was at one point in the year last year was putting up 30 pieces relatively easy. Can we expect that to be run back this year? That's going to be the key, I think, to the Dolphins season. Obviously health with Tua and obviously health with Armstead, but also can this McDaniel scheme be figured out? Speed all over the place. When you have Mostert, Wilson, Tyreek Hill, and Waddle, that's speed all over the place. But can you do 11 personnel here? You could definitely do 21. You could definitely do 22. But can you get away with 11 personnel here? And that's why I thought the fact that they couldn't figure out what to do with Gesicki was kind of a red flag to me. I understand in this system that McDaniels runs, he wants a tight end that can block first, receive second. But I mean, the way that Gesicki was such a weapon in years prior, you give a offensive genius in McDaniels that type of weapon, you can't figure out anything. You can't figure out anything to do with him. But anyway, McDaniels' system, year 2, can it be figured out? Will there be any adjustments? That's something we have to figure out here. When you're looking at what the Dolphins could be offensively, I think it's a scheme that they have a lot of pieces that just fit. But again, this O-line, it begins and ends with Armstead. This O-line, when you're really trying to decipher if a O-line is more prevalent for run blocking or pass blocking, there's certain metrics you can do. The funny thing about this is, and shout out to Mina Kime, she had this information, is they face the least amount of 8-man boxes in the league. So no one is scared of them running the ball. No one is scared or was scared last year of the Dolphins running the ball. Can this Shanahan-style system, with the running backs that they have, and yes, these running backs are not, north and south runners. They're zone running guys. They're guys that need to get out on the edge and use the speed to just blow by people. Can they find a way to be more effective in the running game? RPO is one thing, but I'm talking about traditional running of the rock. RPO is whatever. It's fine. Everyone's doing RPO, so it's not even that special anymore. But in regards to, can they run effectively against the looks that beg you to run? They're playing the pass because they know what they have to deal with in Hill and Waddle. So if they're willing to give you chunk yardage with the run plays, is McDaniels going to continue to be stubborn and keep passing against passing defensive formations? Or is he going to try to punish them with runs? I think that's a real thing to figure out. Defensively for the Dolphins, there's some names here, boy. Christian Wilkins is a top-tier D tackle. Jalen Phillips, I think he's a guy that looks the part of being one of the next star edge rushers. Bradley Chubb, in-season trade. He's had a full off season to kind of get shit right and to learn his role. Chubb is not, in theory, what he thought he was going to be, but I still think he's a definite guy that is good off the edge. Obviously, here, the Jalen Ramsey injury, they didn't update this depth chart in time, but Jalen Ramsey is, we know he's going to miss time. But Xavier Howard, can he get back to what he was? They're going to be implementing a little bit more zone this year. Xavier Howard is a better man coverage DB than a zone DB. Cam Smith is a guy that a lot of people are high on. How does he fit into this system? With Jalen Ramsey out for a minute, Xavier Howard and I think Cam Smith will be the ones to kind of watch there. Back four looks good on paper. Holland and Jones, even the backups, look good on paper. But I rocks with Omar Kelly a lot. Omar Kelly works out there in Miami. He's been covering the Dolphins for a very long time. And he's been kind of being the one that's kind of toned down my expectations of this Dolphins team. He's in and around the team a lot, and he's questioned the depth of this team. He's questioned if these name players that we keep talking about are actually still those dudes. So, because of Omar Kelly and because I respect his acumen, and when I worked at SiriusXM, I used to book him a lot for some of the shows we were doing because you always had real talk analysis. And, he does stuff with Brandon Marshall now. He's on the I Am Athlete thing behind the scenes or whatever. But when it comes to him and his day job of Dolphins football and just football analysis, I trust his opinion. He's not that sold on this defense like the rest of us are. He's not sold on the depth of this defense like the rest of us are. So I think that's something that's a little caveat to kind of just leave that there. Someone who's in and around the team, boots on the ground, down there in South Beach, he's not sold. I think that's something to be, and that was before Jalen Ramsey got hurt. Then after Jalen Ramsey got hurt, he's like, look, the depth is not there at certain positions. And more importantly, it was the linebacker, basically the back seven. I don't think he had any issues with the front four. It was more so the back seven. So I'm going to lean more towards into that because, again, Xavier Howard has struggled at least the last 2 years. So you're not sure if that's an actual decline or just slumps happen. Cam Smith is a guy that could be a real big swing and knock it out the park with a home run, or it could be a swing and a miss. I think more so of closer to a home run than a swing and a miss. But Cam Smith, there is something there, in my opinion. So the Miami Dolphins defense is a unit that should be good. Is a unit that, I mean, like there was this here. Best defense in the NFL, right? Dallas is up there. We'll touch on that on Thursday. But the ranking the remaining NFL defenses, you see Buffalo up here. You see the Jets up here at number 3. And then towards the bottom, Patriots will get there next. Top 10 defense, apparently. But rounding out this top 10, you have the Miami Dolphins. Again, man, it's Vic Fangio in that zone that he likes to implement. We'll see how that is. We'll see how that is. So the Miami Dolphins in their schedule, we'll touch on that in a second, but 9.5 wins. Vegas is split on it. I'll hit the chat real quick before we break down the schedule. Scrub Zero, I'll take the over for the Dolphins. But just like the Bills, it's barely 10 wins that gets them the last wild card spot. Okay, it's a lot of wins. A lot of wins. Derpy, fan bases that think players deserve money instead of showing up in the playoffs. That's why your organization is your organization. Who is that in reference to? Which team are you airing out there? Or which fan base are you airing out there? Scrub Zero, I do have concerns about the Dolphins, like I do about the Chargers. Situational moments from the coaching staff, that time management and timeout usage, really. Yeah, McDaniels, I mean, look, I think for the first year, he was okay. He definitely made some mistakes, as you mentioned, with the time management and timeout usage. I hate to say this, but I think his job will be a lot easier if Tua's healthy. I think his job becomes a lot easier if Tua's healthy and Armstead can stay healthy. And I think that's why sometimes coaching is overrated. Coaching is very important in some aspects, but I think ultimately in this thing, a lot of those timeouts and moments where everyone needs to be on the same page, I think it's important and vital when you have a QB that has the acumen like a Tua Tagovailoa and, Teron Armstead. Magic Man's in the house. He's getting his messy shit off. We already know what he's about. Let's rifle through Magic Man's stuff here. Make a break for Rodgers. Okay, so make a break for Rodgers according to Magic Man. What's your hot take? I don't have a hot take on this. I guess my hot take on this division is that I don't think the Patriots are as trash as people think. I think that's my hot take. I'm not saying they're going to win the division, although there are people that think they can win double-digit wins. I'm not in that camp, but I don't think I have a hot take, but I think the hottest take I have is that don't sleep on the Patriots. The Patriots are not a layup. Derpy, any that continue to use. That's who you were talking about? Okay. All right. Well, shit. 31 teams lose every year. There's only one Super Bowl champion. Okay. So let's get to the schedule for Miami. All right. They start with the Chargers. That could be a winnable game. At Patriots on Sunday night. Broncos, Bills, Giants, Panthers. Okay. Got some Panthers love in there. Eagles, Patriots, Chiefs in Germany, then a bye week. So they get the bye week after going to Germany, but the Bills don't get the bye week after going to London. Interesting. The flight isn't that much longer. Like, I guess Miami to Germany is a longer flight than New York to London, I guess. But that's interesting how Miami gets the bye week after the Europe trip, but the Bills do not. Raiders, Jets, Commanders, Titans, Jets, Cowboys, Ravens, Bills. Okay, so this schedule appears to be a little bit more balanced than the Bills one. The Bills schedule to me is helter-skelter. But I think the earlier bye week helps these teams with difficult schedules because you get a chance to take a breath and catch a reprieve. Playing the NFC South, and especially getting the Panthers and who was the other one? Panthers, you get some Titans in there. I don't know. This schedule, it looks tough on paper, but I don't know if it's as tough in terms of the layout of the games and the order of the games as we have watched with the Bills schedule. Right now, of these three teams, I think the Bills have the most difficult schedule from the layout perspective, from the order of the games in which they have to play. I think the schedule is probably easier than the Jets, but it's definitely easier than the Bills. Of the three teams, I think the Dolphins have the easiest layout of the games on the schedule so far. So maybe that's why their number is 9.5, because when you look at how these games are laid out, I can see 9 to 10 wins. Assuming health, assuming Tua and Armstead are on point for that offense, I can see 10 wins here. That Bills one, it's hard for me to see 11 with how their games are laid out. It's just hard for me to see 11 wins. Okay, let's see. I'll hit the chat before we go ahead to the New England Patriots. Thank you for those who have stuck in there and we're checking out the AFC East preview edition of Timeline T. Thank you for staying in here. Hit the like button if you would be so kind. Let's see. Magic Man's trying to shake things up. I see him. We'll get to that in a second. All right, Magic Man with his hot take. This is just what he likes to come to the chat and just cause chaos. This is what Magic Man does. His hot take is that Justin Tucker is the best player on the Ravens, and I think that shouldn't be a hot take. In my opinion, that's a ludicrous take, but that's what Magic Man wants. He wants to shake things up in the chat. So there you go. Scrub Zero, I would love for the Pats to go 0-17, but I know that won't happen. Damn, a lot of anti-Pat love. I mean, Brady ain't there no more. What are you just hating because of Belichick? Derpy, Ravens, Giants, Browns, Jets, Lions, teams that pay players or QBs that haven't proven anything. Well, out of those teams, only one of them have an MVP. Well, I guess the Jets with Rodgers too, but I think Lamar earned his contract, but we can agree to disagree there. So you're saying the Jets paid Aaron Rodgers and he's not worth it? He's coming off 2 back-to-back MVPs a couple of years ago. It's an interesting take. Magic Man, if Bill has pressure to win, then Mike has pressure to win as well. I'm assuming Bill as in Belichick or Bill as in Bills? And I'm assuming you mean Mike as in McDaniels. Scrub Zero, Bills probably asked the league to push back their bye because their Euro trip is in week 5. Giants did the same thing last year. That's cool if they did that, but goddamn, they're going to pay for it. Like, to me, that's brutal, bro. Like, it's a 6-hour flight. I've done the flight from JFK to Heathrow. It's about a 6-hour flight. So I get it. It's not as bad. It's like, it's the equivalent of a West Coast trip, but you're going to have to leave earlier the week before to get over there, to get acclimated to the time difference, so on and so forth. So if you want to treat it like it's just a West Coast trip, then by all means have a blast, but I wouldn't do that. Magic Man with more hot takes. Mike Tomlin slightly overrated. That's just what Magic Man does. So, we just let him get his stuff off and keep it pushing. Derpy. The reason why Mahomes is so great is because he didn't get paid until after he proved it. I'm sick of fans that think players deserve the bag instantly. The NFL is about winning Super Bowls. I mean, so then you must not like the Vikings either then, right? Because the Vikings gave Cousins all that money fully guaranteed without winning anything, right? So it's got to be all those teams, right? So then you must not like the Chargers then, because what they did with Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray with the Cardinals, Josh Allen with the Bills. So you just don't like any quarterbacks getting paid, any players getting paid until they win a championship. That's a very lofty bar. I mean, that's very pro management. Derpy co-signing with Magic Man's hot take. Okay. Scrub Zero's a Giants fan. Okay, Giants fans and any Boston team will forever be the enemy. Got you. But you beat the Patriots twice. You should look down on them. Like they're not your rival. They're not your rival. You own them. If anything, you own them when it mattered most. That's not a rivalry. If I keep beating you in Super Bowls, that's not a rivalry. I'm lost, Derpy. Who's the best running back in the game? Magic Man, Bill Belichick, and Mike Tomlin. Okay, got you. Bill as in Bill Belichick. Copy that. Okay, Derpy's a Steelers fan. Okay, copy that. Magic Man, you don't have to win the Super Bowl to get paid. Yeah, I agree with Magic Man on that one. Like, I think that's too lofty of a thing to ask for. Like, Jalen Hurts got a team to a Super Bowl and got paid. Should that be the only prerequisite? Because that means Joe Burrow should have been paid. That means Justin Herbert should not be paid. That means Josh Allen should not be paid. That means Dak Prescott should not be paid. Like, there's a lot of top tier QBs or a lot of highly paid top tier QBs that would not fall under that metric, under that logic. Magic Man, if you think you have the guy at QB, you should pay them. That's kind of what most teams are doing. There's 32 of them, and out of the 32, like, look, a lot of people poo-poo the NFL 100. You know, I put out the Jacksonville Jaguars clip from the preview, we did on them last week. And a lot of people were, just poo-pooing the whole Trevor Lawrence is the 14th rated QB amongst the NFL 100. That kind of matters to me. I don't know about y'all, but if a jury of your peers and you're supposed to be one of the next guys up to get the max bag, essentially, and you're the 14th ranked QB amongst a jury of your own peers, this isn't coaches, GMs, and evaluators. This is players. And they got you 14th? And you're in line to be next up. Either you, Burrow, or Mahomes are next in line to be the highest paid QB in the league. That, to me, that kind of matters. Okay, Magic Man's a Giant fan. Okay, so we got Scrub Zero and Magic Man as a Giant fan. Okay, so I'm fully expecting y'all to pull up on Thursday when we do the NFC East. Scrub Zero, I don't care. I like to see Boston teams suffer. Okay, copy that. Salute. I'm not anti that logic. I'm on that same wave for other reasons, more so off the court than on the court. But I feel you. Let's see. Magic Man, Bills have to face the Eagles, Chiefs, and Bengals in all those games on the road. Yeah, look, the Bills have a very difficult schedule. All these, I think out of the 3 teams so far, they definitely have the hardest schedule for sure. Derpy, I'm just saying certain players and fans overhype players, and that's why your organization is consistently has the same outcome. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, there's certain teams you could definitely put in that metric, but I don't know if I agree with that wholeheartedly. No, it doesn't. DCMD. No, it doesn't. What? I don't make any promises. DCMD. Okay, so is that regards to you pulling up on Thursday? Okay. Okay. I think we're in a good spot to move on to the New England Patriots. And I think this, Magic Man asked me earlier for my hot take. I think, hold on, let me get some of this goji berry tea. I think the hottest take I could come out with of the division is I think the Patriots are a little bit better than we like to think. I think the fact that offense was so putrid because of the disaster that was Matt Patricia last year is that we kind of overlook what they could be. Now, am I on this live stream about to cape up for Mac Jones? No. Okay. Let me get that out the way. We are not about to sit here and do that, right? I am not about to sit here on this very live stream and cape for Mac Jones. What I am about to say, though, is that I think when you look at the pieces that they have, low key, I think this offense could be good with a competent OC. And they have one in Bill O'Brien. We can kill him as a coach. We can kill him as an executive. We know the disaster that was the Houston Texans. But in terms of just purely an OC, he went back to college and he got his groove back. I think Bill O'Brien, holding people accountable with a roster that has a lot of names. We know Ramondre Stevenson is a really, I won't say a top tier back, but he's probably in that second tier of running backs. But as your number one running back, you could certainly do far worse than Ramondre Stevenson, right? I think Hunter Henry, and here's your man Gesicki, I think you're doing a lot of 22 personnel. I think we'll see what Hunter Henry can actually do with now a competent OC and play caller with Bill O'Brien in the tuck. I think having Bill O'Brien is actually really important for this New England Patriot offense. Am I going to sit here and tell you Mac Jones is going to take a step? No. What I will say is that I think they're going to make the playbook and the scheme very similar to what Mac Jones ran in college. You're going to see a lot of spread, a lot of one-back stuff. I think they'll do some RPO stuff, but I don't think it'll be as heavy-handed as it was last year. Last year, I think the Patriots, if you really want to keep it all the way 100, you take all the dysfunction from the offense last year and you have to just toss all that shit out the window because that was an experiment gone wrong, right? Now you have a competent OC to come in here, and it's not like Mac Jones was trash his rookie year. Played well his rookie year. He had a competent OC his rookie year. Then he had Matt Patricia. Now he's back to having another competent OC in Bill O'Brien. I think Mac Jones in this offense can be better than what people think, right? Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're going to be a top 10 offense or anything like that, but I think they can put up enough points where the strength of this team is in its defense. And if you look at what Bill Belichick has done in retooling on the fly, which he always seems to do, I think they've done a really slick job on the low, retooling the back seven especially. We'll get to the front four, but I think the back seven especially, they've done a lot of sneaky, really good things there, and we'll get to it. But when it comes right down to it, I think the offense is going to be solid. They have a running back. They have a decent receiving core. There's no game breakers here. There's no guys that I think can take defenses over the top, but I think they're serviceable to just be a possession-style offense. I think the key here will be the Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki thing. If they could do some things with 22 personnel with Hunter and Gesicki, I like this offense a lot. The offensive line, though, is where we kind of have to put an eye on. The O-line is not that strong. The O-line is more of a run-oriented O-line. But again, we can't really base too much off last year because last year was such a disaster that it's hard to just look at last year and try to play it forward to this year because of all the changes that have been made in terms of coaching. But I do think there's a remnants of an offensive line here that can be solid. Great? No. Dominating? No. Solid? Yes. That's just my opinion on it. So I think this offense could be one of those teams that can, every once in a while, if things are hot, they might be able to put up a 28 to 30 piece. But ideally, they're going to live in that 17 to 24 range. And with the defense that they have, that can sneakily be enough to knock a lot of teams off. Because I think the defense is that good for the New England Patriots this year. So I won't spend too much time on the offense because let's tap in to this Patriot defense. But let's get into the over-unders first. 7.5 for the Patriots. And you see here, the juice is kind of on the over. Split reaction, tough reaction. But I mean, I think a lot of times what you see here is that teams are Vegas is trying to figure it out. They don't know what to do with Miami, and they don't know what to do with New England. But 7.5 for the Patriots, there's a good case to make there to take that over. Let's get into the defense. Okay. Up front, I'm not that impressed, right? The key to this team is the back seven. We can look into what Judon obviously is still a guy, right? He's still a dude on this line. But again, how many more years can he do it on that edge, right? But when you look at the back seven, this is where the key is because the Patriots have done a masterful job of getting linebackers that can cover and DBs and more importantly, safeties who can play against the run. So there's going to be a lot of nickel formations, dime formations with interchangeable parts within the linebackers and the safeties. We talked about earlier where the Jets have an issue with the linebackers and the safeties in coverage. You do not have those problems here with the Patriots. The Patriots draft specifically to fit their system so their linebackers can cover, their safeties can cover and play the run. They make sure. Now you see Jabril Peppers here. He's not a guy I'm speaking of in terms of coverage, okay? He's not a guy that I'm speaking of in terms of that. But I think in terms of having him, he has the flexibility to even play as the backer in a dime. And then you have some of these linebackers who can play back and they have the size and the speed to play off and be a safety. Jalen Mills looks to be a guy that they're going to be using all over the place. Christian Gonzalez, he's a guy that you would like to think could be a guy that, I'm not saying a shutdown, but he's a guy that you want to be CB1 after it's all said and done. You want him to earn that spot. But I think that the back seven here is going to be very interesting to see what Belichick dials up week to week, what advantages he tries to exploit. And that's what he's so good at. We can have our thoughts about him in terms of, you know, how he carries himself and the way he is with the media and all that type of stuff. But when you look at what he's done, a lot of people are high on your man's Mapu, I believe it's pronounced. Mapu right here. Marte Mapu. A lot of people are high on him. He's got a lot of dynamic stuff where he can be a linebacker that can play off and be coverage and play the run. So I think the Patriots defense is definitely a space where you can see week to week, interchangeable pieces. We talked last week about the Falcons and positionless offense. I think there's a case to be made to where the back seven for the Patriots, you're going to see a lot of positionless defense because a lot of the stuff the linebackers traditionally would do, you're going to be safe. You're going to see safeties coming down and playing those roles and vice versa. And that's by design. And I think that's going to be a very unique thing to keep an eye on with this Patriots defense. I think this is a top 10 defense. I think with what they could do with the interchangeable positionless parts on the defense, I think this Patriots defense is a top 10 defense. If Judon can give you something off that edge and continue to play like he has the last few years with some solid interior play, the Patriots are not going to be a walkover. Now, depth in the back seven would be injuries to this back seven will be disastrous, right? I think you could suffer some injuries up front. It's not ideal, but I think you could get away with some injuries up front. But that back seven, you cannot have injuries. You cannot have injuries because all these guys, they play sort of the interchangeable roles. I just want to see this for a full season and what Belichick can do. It's very intriguing. This could be a squad, low-key, you could run with in Madden. Even though Madden's trash this year, this is a squad you could run with in Madden and really do some dynamic shit. So Patriots, 7.5. Over, under. Where y'all at? And before we tap into the schedule, let me see. I see y'all are going crazy in the chat. Y'all are going back and forth. I see Derpy and Magic Man are going back and forth. Do we have anything in regards to the Patriots? Let's see. All right, Derpy and Magic Man are going back and forth. Okay, so y'all are just going in on the chat. All right, I'll let y'all go in on the chat. We'll go ahead with the Patriots schedule. The Patriots schedule. Let's see. Week 1, Eagles. Dolphins. At Jets. At Cowboys. Saints. Raiders. No easy games there. First 6 games, I don't see an easy dub here. You could say maybe the Raiders, but who knows? Bills. Dolphins. Commanders. Colts in Germany. Then they get the bye week. So again, another team that goes over to Europe and gets the bye week. At Giants, after the bye week, Chargers, Steelers, Chiefs, Broncos, Bills. This is a brutal schedule. This is brutal. This is almost as bad as the Bills. I think the Bills have the worst schedule in terms of the layout. And I think it's primarily because they chose to not take the bye week after the Europe game, after the London game. But now that we've broken down all 4 of these teams in their schedules, I think the Dolphins have the easiest layout, then the Jets, then the Patriots, then the Bills. Bills have the hardest schedule of this division, in my opinion. But breaking these teams down, this is a brutal schedule for the Patriots. So 7.5? Do you see 8 wins here? Maybe they beat the Broncos. Maybe they beat the Steelers. Maybe they can get the Colts out of there in Germany. Raiders, maybe. That's 4 wins. Yeah, I don't know where 8 wins is coming from, bro. Unless you're telling me they're going to split the division, that's 3 wins. And then some of these games on the back half, maybe they can get the Steelers up out of here. Maybe they get the Broncos, that's 5. Colts, that's 6. Commanders, that's 7. But that's asking a lot. That's asking a lot. I think I'm going with the under on the Patriots at 7.5. Whew. Scrub Zero, I'll give the Pats 8 wins. I got the over. Okay. All right. I think I'm going under. I don't like the layout of those games. Look at Magic Man is co-signed. I'm assuming he's co-signed in Scrub Zero with the 8 wins. That's a lot of wins to me for that roster. If they get eight wins, that means that defense is as advertised. They get 8 wins, that defense is as advertised, for sure. All right, let me come off the screen here for a sec. Okay, let's see if we can find some tea to get into before we wrap it up. I appreciate y'all sticking in. Pause. Let's see. Let's get to looking up some information. Did we miss anything on the timeline? You know where we go to first. We go to Doe first because he got all the aggregate shit. So we go to him first. All right. We got some Odell versus Josh Norman. He's just doing that for clicks to get paid from Elon. Henry Ruggs been transferred to a prison, begin his 3 to 10 year sentence. Okay, doesn't really matter. Bucks wave Rodrigo Blankenship. Okay. Oh, okay, here we go. Keyshawn Johnson closing in on joining Skip Bayless on Undisputed. In addition to Keyshawn, Michael Irvin appears to have a role as well. Ex-NFL cornerback Richard Sherman already said to be joining the show as well. Okay, so Skip is going with what I said he should do about a month or so ago, and he's going to go ahead and just do the ensemble cast. He's going to do the ensemble cast of just, I'm the main guy, rotate a bunch of dudes in and around me who are expertise in their field, and I'll just have back and forth with them. So I've been asked a lot via text and via DM to share my opinion on this, and I was going to save it for the DCMD podcast, and that's still, you still have an episode coming out. I just have to do the editing. But I think in regards to this right here, what Skip is doing, I think is a low budget version of what First Take is right now. And while he may think this is the best operation, this to me just shows that the show is unwatchable, because I'm assuming there's going to be no one there 5 days a week. Rachel Nichols is not going to be there 5 days a week. Lil Wayne damn sure not going to be there 5 days a week. And I don't think Richard Sherman or Keyshawn or Michael Irvin are going to be there 5 days a week. You're going to bring in Michael Irvin probably for Mondays. You probably bring in Richard Sherman as well on Mondays and Tuesdays. Sprinkling Keyshawn maybe there for Fridays with Weezy on Fridays. And then in the middle, maybe you get Rachel Nichols in there. But it's going to be very interesting to see how they lay this out in terms of what person's going to be on what day. You would think to go to most viral, you want Michael Irvin in there on Mondays. You want him to be in there capitulating about the Cowboys and whatever else is going on. So ideally, you would want him there Monday or Tuesday. Friday, I think that's where you might get Richard Sherman and Keyshawn, DB receiver, get that whole dynamic going on. I could see that being a thing because you got the Thursday night game. You need someone there on Friday to do NFL, to break down the Thursday night game and to preview the Sunday games as well. I think that's where you get the Richard Sherman piece as well as the Keyshawn piece. Now, I'm not the biggest Keyshawn guy. I was not listening to him on ESPN radio. I don't really know what Keyshawn has done in terms of an analyst perspective. I don't really think there's a lot there, but he is a name. He's a name. He was outwardly outlandish as a player, but in terms of the analyst role, I haven't really heard him say anything that made me like really want to tap into his content. Irvin is there to preach. Irvin's going to be Irvin. He's going to be sweating. He's going to be, saying, we're losing recipes. He's going to go. He's there for the viral moments. Shannon was there to go viral, right? He learned the moments of how and when to go viral. You need that if you're going to do a show of this ilk. You need someone whose main purpose is this person's going to say the thing. You had Shannon there when he put the goat mask on, we did the black and milds, pour up the Henny, all of that. It's for clicks. I think Irvin will slide into that role. Unless Keyshawn has that in his bag, maybe Keyshawn could do that. But from what I've seen, he can't do that. Richard Sherman has that potential as well. He does it from a more educated point of view, but he has that ability as well. A lot of talking. So we'll see how that goes. But oh yeah, let me get that off the Patriots. I think that this will be interesting. I go way deeper into it on the podcast, so that should be coming out within the next couple of days. So tap into that if you haven't already. All right. Daniel Jones, 10 pounds of muscle. Magic Man is Scrub Zero. Y'all co-signing? Vanilla Vic? Oh, okay. Here we go. Stephon Diggs confirms that Stephen A. Smith was making stuff up. 100% not true. Now, I have never been the biggest proponent of caping or defending Fraud A. Smith, but I will say this. I heard similar rumblings about 6 months ago in regards to Stephon Diggs not wanting to be in Buffalo. That's all I'll say. So, and Stephen A. in his clip that went viral did say that people will say that this is a made-up take and that his sources is not real. But he's saying he's getting it from a true source. Stephon Diggs tweeting on his own account. 100% not true. I don't know who the source is, but I thought I nipped this shit in the bud already. It is what it is. Let's see. Anything else? I don't see anything else pertinent. I'll leave it up to y'all in the chat. I see y'all going crazy in the chat. Yes, Scrub Zero. A lot of people on the timeline last year were calling your QB Danny Dimes or Danny Pennies Vanilla Vic. That's all I'm saying. I never co-signed it, but I always thought it was just a funny-ass nickname for a dude that, a white dude who could run. Oh, shit, Vanilla Vic. That just, it was not my nickname to give him, but it's a nickname that was out there. I love that y'all are going back and forth in the chat. I love that y'all have your own conversation popping off in the chat. I respect it. Scrub Zero is going to possibly look like cold pizza format. Well, here's the thing, right? Like I did a video on, the video from a month ago. I had people in the comments telling me like, Skip is not stealing from Stephen A. 'Cause that's what cold pizza was. Go back and look at cold pizza. It was kind of not that. It was not that format. It was two dudes doing all the talking, and then you might bring on one guy who's an expert in the field, and then they would have a conversation with that guy. What cold pizza actually was is what the first take with Stephen A. and Skip Bayless actually at its apex turned out to be. Like you had the two guys debating, and then you bring on a third guy to kind of shake things up a little bit. That's kind of what cold pizza was. There's this notion that it was this one guy and then an ensemble. That was not the cold pizza I remember. And I went and I tried to look it up to see if maybe I'm tripping, and I wasn't tripping. That's kind of not what it was. But I think at times you had one guy with a bunch of ensemble people, but that was when somebody was on vacation. But that wasn't the normal day in, day out format. All right, let's see. Well, I'm good on the AFC East. We went through the whole thing. Let's see, how much more time we got? I could give a few more minutes. Appreciate all the people that have pulled up. It's been a very active chat session. I like that. We got some decent likes. We could use a few more, but that's okay. We'll get that in post. All right, let's see. Come off the screen here. All right. Yeah, I think we're good there. All right. If there's anything y'all think I missed, y'all got the comment section on the replay. But I think, I'll be repurposing some of this content for clips for anybody who's missed it. Thursday, you'll have the NFC East preview. So if you want to get tapped in on that, subscribe to the channel. Channel is building. We're getting closer and closer to 500 subscribers. That's kind of crazy when, I've kind of focused this channel or have been locked in on really building this channel really only like for the last 7-8 months. So it's kind of crazy that we could go from, I think we were at like 60 subscribers. So now we're at almost 500. So that's been kind of crazy with organic content, my voice, my opinion. So I really appreciate all those who have been tapping in. I thank y'all for showing up. Look, in the chat, I always say this, but y'all are very important to the chat. And I get Scrub Zero in here one last time. Danny Dams, okay. I like that. I like that. The whole Danny Dimes thing was always ludicrous to me. But the chat here is where this show is different than others. This show is where the chat is where we get different conversations, different perspectives. We get things that can push the conversation forward. Or like today, sometimes y'all golf and just have your own show within the show in the chat section. So I always appreciate y'all for pulling up and being active in the chat. That lets me know what y'all are talking about. That lets me know when to move on from a topic, so on and so forth. So always appreciate that. Yeah, y'all all going crazy in the chat. So that's dope. That's dope. I do appreciate y'all for pulling up. Thursday will be the NFC East. I have my guest. He is Corey Parsons, a.k.a. the Fantasy Executive. He'll be pulling up here to break down the NFC East with me. He's got his own YouTube channel. He's doing content as well. So I'll make sure to have all his stuff lined up in the chat for y'all on Thursday. But until then, I am the Sam D for Timeline T. This has been another 2023 NFL preview edition of Timeline T. I will see y'all Thursday for the NFC East preview. I appreciate y'all as always. Peace.